Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're just finding me, my name is Carolyn and you are here on our Simple Abundance Year channel. We are following along in Sarah Breathnach's new edition of Simple Abundance. It's been rewritten recently and this channel is dedicated to her principles: joy, harmony, beauty, order, simplicity, and gratitude. And we are here now at the end of January. I've done a whole bunch of videos this month. Hope you'll check them out so you can get a flavor for the channel and what we're doing here as we go through this day book, which is a day-by-day book with entries and inspirational things in it. So we're here at the end of January, and I wanted to talk today about January 30th. And I will say, if you're following along in her old edition, this is different than the old edition. In the old edition, near the end of January, she has an entry called Your 100 Blessings. And that concept's been absorbed in this new entry on the 30th, where she talks more about blessing your circumstances. And that can mean in good times and bad. So I hope you'll read the entry, but she does tell us that a lot of it comes with acceptance, first of all, and acknowledging where you are. And maybe you know it's not where you want to be, but then blessing that. And there's some sort of a surrender to that too, right? When you're just saying like, well, you can say whatever you want, but if you're blessing something in a way, you're sort of saying like, yes, I see you, I acknowledge you, I bless you, and whatever comes, or there must be a blessing coming out of this, right? So check out the entry, but at the end of the entry, she absorbs what I really want to talk about, which is the 100 blessings of your life. So this is another opportunity to sit down and connect with your authentic self and take out your journal or pen and paper, write 1 through 100 and challenge yourself to sit down. And it's not that difficult, or it may be depending on where you are, but challenge yourself to come up with 100 blessings. Now, these can be people, these can be feelings, these can be experiences, they can be possessions. Some of them on my list are as simple as the fact that I can see, hear, smell, touch, feel, walk, breathe. These are maybe things that you don't always acknowledge, but that are certainly blessings. So that's something that I hope that you will sit down and do. It's not unlike our gratitude practice that hopefully you're doing every day. And I can't believe we're already near the end of January. There's been so many videos this month. Definitely go back and check them out if you're just finding the channel now. And I hope you'll subscribe and stay on the journey with us, because it's going to be a great 2020. So in addition to that blessing list, I wanted to share a few things from my journal. You know how I love it. I love my journal. These are things that I've done so far this year. I did do another video about the original setup that I do every year when I get the new journal. So I'm not going to go too much into that. But so I have the original setup video. You can check that out. Then I made a list. I've shared some of these in other videos, but I did make my list of things that I can add to it as they come up, of things that I realize that need to be simplified in my life, and hopefully a solution with that. Something as simple as like the key that I shared in that other video. I did some work with changing negative statements over to positive, and I've shared that in another video, but I did this one particular one where it was mainly based on fears. So I wrote out I'm afraid, and I put all my I'm afraid statements down, and then I tried, and in some cases it's hard because it can be like going from one end of the spectrum to the other, but I turned the statements into I'm excited. Some of them I had to say I'm getting excited because it was hard for me to go all the way to I'm excited. I don't have them right in front of me, but I was trying to think of a something simple, but you get the gist. I would recommend trying that. It's something that I encountered, I think, on another YouTube video. I don't remember the source. Sarah asked us at the beginning of January, what do you need right now? So I sat down and I wrote down, what do I need right now? Also, this is not from the book, but this came out of a conversation with an acquaintance a few years ago, and I've done it in my journal, and I didn't mention it in the first intro video, so I'll say it here. I made a list of what the welcome signs for my life are. So you might think about a lot of times what you don't want in your life, right? But have you really identified what are the welcome, there could be like welcome friends outside your house when you have like a little flag up or something. What are the welcome signs in your life? What are you willing to welcome in? What are you really wanting to attract to you? So I made a list of my welcome signs for my life. I had about 10 of them. I also made a new list. This has never been in any of my journals, but because I started to really feel like I've already been inspired so much from all your comments and just doing this project to begin with, I've really started to notice that I'm already connecting back to my soul. So I made a note in my journal, and I'll go back and add things in as they come up, but I just called it Notable Glimpses from My Soul. So there was one that I wrote down already, and so I will have that page to add to in the future when I just feel like I'm really tuned in, tapped in, turned on. The next one I wrote down is my 100 blessings. I did that as well. Oh, the next one is when we talked about order and getting organized this year. I did sit down and I wrote down various what I'd call zones in my house that I want to tackle. So it could be like a drawer, it could be a closet, thinking like my laundry cabinet. I'll just have stuff thrown in there. So I made a list of those things. I also made my creative excursion list. I shared that with you in another video, and hopefully you are working on those and that you've gone out and had some. And then, oh, this is perfect actually, because you see my Imagine sign. I love the song Imagine. That John Lennon song is one of my very favorite songs. And so I've done this before, but I sat down the other night and I just did a journal activity, and I call it Imagine If/When. So not unlike my little fantasy story journal that I share with you, this is just a list of, like, if it's really helpful if you're in a state, like there are some uncertainties in my life, and so I can just spiral down into the bad part of like, oh no, imagine if, like that's not what I'm talking about. This is the positive part. Like it could be like, imagine if I won the lottery tomorrow, and then like what would you do with that? Like, so basically you're coming up with these imagine if/when things, and it's an uplifting thing. Again, these are the imagine if, and it's something good, not imagine if I crash my car tomorrow or something. No, it's not that. These are good, positive things. What else? Oh, I showed you my winter snow-in basket. So Sarah also at the end of January encourages us to stock up our pantries for the season, and I still need to go out and get some things, but and a lot of it's food. I kept thinking of things I wanted to bake, or I love to make soups in the winter, so there's some soups I want to do. So I made my winter snow-in supply list. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I wrote this down to say this. When I talked to you guys about my gratitude journal, I told you about the practice and then the TGIF thing I do weekly. And then now that we're getting to the end of the month, I was reminded that I forgot to say that I also always do like a little monthly summary. So it's the end of the month, and I'll just kind of evaluate, give myself a little report card to just put some highlights in there and how I was feeling. And it's just, again, I told you I don't do like the everyday Dear Diary thing anymore, but this is like an end of the month summary of where I'm at and how it's going, and it's like a little check-in with myself and maybe some things I could do better in the next month if I fell off the wagon with something. And then another thing is that I started, how do I explain this? I started writing down whenever I'm hearing success stories from other people. And I even remembered some from the past. Because if you have any sort of worries about things not working out for the good, then it's really great when you can think about some things like, oh, I remember this one particular friend told me like his company was going out of business and he didn't know what he was going to do, and then it was like just randomly like a client of theirs was there and he was doing work for them, and they were like, what are you going to do when the business closes? Next thing you know, he's got an interview at that client's business and like had a job that there was like no gap in employment or anything, and it was like an amazing success story. And another friend of mine had told me recently this whole thing about like she needed a place to move to, and this place just presented itself, and the landlord was like redoing everything for her and letting her pick out the colors of the paints and everything. And so I started writing some of these things down because I just felt like I want to acknowledge that there are success stories, and that if I have fears about something working out, and even in my own life, like I have not done this, but I'm thinking as I'm saying this to you guys, there are so many things that have worked out for me, and I sometimes forget, and I get so bound up in the what ifs on the negative of like, you know, something falling apart or what's going to happen if this doesn't happen. So I have to reconnect with some of those things that really in the past have like, there's been so many things that have worked out for me. Like I'm just thinking about how I needed a place to move to also one time because the house I was renting was getting sold, and I just was walking in my neighborhood and happened to see that there was a house that looked like it was getting interior cleaned out, painted, and I just left a note and said, hey, I'm looking to move, and like that ended up working out. So there are definitely things in my life, and I want to start keeping track of things that other people tell me that have happened in their life that are, it's like, you know, an angelic sort of intervention, sometimes even with a person, like an angel on earth just being there at the right time. So that's another list that I've added. And then I made a list of, I was going to show you something else, but I didn't grab it. So maybe I'll do another video on that. But so that's a wrap. Tomorrow's going to be the last day of January. And we're getting into February, which I mentioned, I gave a little teaser last time that it's our month of love, right? But not necessarily romantic love. This is like our love for self and getting to know our true selves. We're going to do a lot of excavation into our souls in the month of February. And it is going to be a nice time to just feel like love is all around in every way. So I'm looking forward to February, and I need to make my little planner insert with an image that really captures that feeling of love. I hope you're feeling all lovey-dovey and enjoying the channel and the book, and I love your comments. So we'll be back as we get more into February. And if you have anything you want to say or anything that you'd like to add, or if you're benefiting from any of the things that we've discussed so far, I would love to hear that. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks again for being here.